Hey, all right. It is 8:29 and welcome to this Monday morning coffee session. So you think you want to be in real estate? You can bring your coffee, come as you are. I happen to be dressed today because I'm going out after this, but you may be in your pajamas sometimes. I won't see you. And if you have questions, just put them in the chat. So, to begin with, just a real quick about myself. My name is Robyn Cavallaro. I'm a realtor in the Villages, Florida. I have in the past 7 years. I've closed over 300 transactions as a single agent and generated $110 million in revenue, um, home sale revenue, home sale volume. Uh, It's been a great ride, but it's been a lot of work, and I'm not gonna lie to you. If you think you're gonna get into real estate because it's easy money, what I call check collectors, you may be mistaken and in for the long haul, but if you apply yourself, you can make a lot of money. You can have a great life, where you choose your schedule and how you want to spend your time. But again, that takes time to get there. And that's what we're going to discuss in this session today is so you want to become a realtor. I'm going to give you the skinny, the good, the pros, the cons, the bad, the ugly, so you can make a better informed decision. But before we go, just make sure you give this channel a like and subscribe. I have a real estate channel with over 17,000 subscribers and millions of views, and this channel is in its infancy. So I really need to beef it up so the content gets out there. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, I will love you forever. Um, all right. So first off, when real estate is great to get into at any age. You can be young, maybe, at least 21 years old. You can start in college. You can start in your 30s, 40s, mid 50s, like I did. It doesn't matter. And you can start without knowing people, without a sphere of influence. I started that way as well. And you can build your authority. But what you need to know is to get licensed to start off with in any state, you need to take a class, whether it's online or in person. Now, for me, I did it online. I did it during COVID. I'm not that kind of learner that can sit in a classroom. That would make me nuts. But um, learning online isn't for everyone. And I procrastinated. I think I signed up for the class starting in March, and I completed the class, the exam for the class, because then you have to sit for the state exam. I did that the night before everything expired is when I actually took the final exam for the class. So I did wait till the last minute. But what I did after that was once I passed that exam, I went and scheduled my state exam for 3 weeks out and crammed for it. And I used something called Prep Agent. And I do have an affiliate link below for that if you're into that part of the process. I believe that that helped me pass the exam the first time in Florida. And don't be discouraged. Most realtors fail the state exam once or twice. I was very fortunate that I passed the first time. So don't be discouraged by that. But it takes a lot of study and a lot of devotion. And the real estate exam has nothing to do with anything you do in your normal real estate life. I mean, you need to know those things, but you are never going to measure an acre. You're not going to sit there and do 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/2. It's not something you do. What I found in Florida, once we get our license, you have a 48-hour exam or class that you have to complete before your first renewal. Our licenses renew every 2 years. That was everything you needed to know about real estate contracts, negotiate all the things that you need to do in your daily life was actually in that 48-hour class. So once you get your license, you will have to do continuing education for your license renewal, and that depends on where you are in the country, what that entails. So you're always going to want to check with your local board or do some research before you get your license. Um, so you can make a lot of money selling real estate. And again, you're going to have to work hard at it because it is a business and you need to set it up that way. These are things you need to think of. Um, what are your startup costs? So you can join a brokerage and they may have fees. Your local board will have fees. You're going to need to join the MLS so you have access to listings. So you're going to need to have a little bit of money set aside so you can start your real estate business. Don't be afraid of that. A lot of it can be made in payments, which is very helpful. But you need to know there are costs and there are ongoing costs every single year when you have to renew your license and when you have to renew your membership to your local board and to the Association of Realtors. Now, you can be a realtor and sell, residential or commercial real estate, but you can also work for a new home developer and you don't have to necessarily belong to the board, but you have to be licensed realtor, if that makes sense. So let's say, and every builder is going to be different. So you may work for, I don't know, some big national company. You don't need to be a realtor. You have to have your license and you work for them as a sales associate. You might be commission based, you might be salary based. So those are options for you, different ways to explore your real estate opportunity. Let's see. I have some notes here to make sure I touch on all of the items. Here's what surprised me after getting licensed was how much I didn't know. And once I got out into the field, I did not know what I was talking about. It was crazy. Um, but now, even with AI, everything is much easier because you can just ask chat always. If you're dealing with contracts, so you need to call. Most of the real estate associations have a lawyer hotline for you to ask contractual information. So that's a benefit of being a realtor, that you get some legal advice on contracts. They don't defend you and they won't defend your clients. It's just contractual, how to understand the contract language. But real estate gives you great flexibility and you can work as much or as little as you want. I find I work a lot of hours. If you want to make serious money in this business, it's not a part-time thing. It's very hard to make money to support yourself if you're doing this as a side hustle. Now, I guess if it's a side hustle, you don't necessarily need to um, support yourself, but getting into it part-time, hoping that you can make it a full-time business can be difficult. So I will use a lot of my own experiences in this forum. When I started, I was 56 and I just moved to Florida. I didn't know anyone. We were in the middle of COVID. So I decided to get my license and I was working full-time for a food purveyor. And, I was trying to do it. I guess it was really a side hustle because I still had a full-time job. I did get one sale. I got my license in July, and I had one sale. I was working with someone, my mentor, who would give me leads that I would follow up on. So I had one sale in 6 months. But understanding the way real estate was, and I didn't have any money. I actually had a great restaurant, and then I opened a coffee house, and I had to declare Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So I came down here with nothing. So I had to have a job. So working full time. Then I left the full time job. I had a little bit of money, and I had 2 sales coming up, and it was a pretty gutsy move because I could have been in serious trouble. But I decided to leave the full-time job and just pursue real estate. And that's really when the business flourished, and using YouTube and social interest media to become that local authority has really propelled me to the top. So, it can be done. You can start without a sphere of influence, but to really make it a career, it has to be your full-time devotion. And I know I didn't have, well, I have children, but they're adults and they have their own children. It is a little difficult. Um, like, I spend so much time, like I'm up at 5:30 in the morning and I get on the computer working on what came new, what's moving in the market. I research local news articles, create social content, and I'm on the computer working for about 4 hours before I even leave the home to make any type of appointments, whether it's listings or buyer showings. Um, and then if I don't have plans in the evening, which a lot of times I don't, because I really need to make this business go because I am now 62, I'm on the computer at night. But I love what I do. It's fun. It's exciting. It's almost like a game. But um, you really need to focus on that time. And when you have children, you might not be able to make as much time as I do, but start somewhere. I'm not saying if you get into real estate and it's a side hustle for you, don't do it. That's not what I mean. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult if you're not devoting it full time. But sometimes you don't have that. But start to develop your authority. One thing I do, I have something called the Agent Authority Assessment, and I haven't been sophisticated enough to figure out how to share my screen here. I'll do that in the next couple episodes. I have an agent authority assessment where you can gauge yourself um, on your local authority. If you're becoming visible in the market, this might not pertain to you because you are still looking to get into real estate, but this is something that I created as part of my real estate business, is teaching and coaching and speaking. So real estate actually gives you a lot of opportunities to make others, to create different additional income streams. So keep that in mind because it can be really fun. Um, so, let's say you've decided you're going to get into real estate, and who do you work for? How do you research a broker? Um, Here's my opinion. I find brokers take a lot of your money and they don't provide training. They might get you into a group or mentor, and you have to give up some of your commissions to that group for the mentorship, which is normal. And I do that. I do have two women that work for my brokerage. And when I give them leads or they're new, I don't want to get into my brokerage structure, but I do take a percentage. And because I'm providing my expertise. So that's what you can expect in the beginning, but they're going to give you the guidance and the knowledge. And it can be very valuable if you get on the right team and the right broker. You need to do your research. You need to ask a lot of questions. Each brokerage works differently. The percentage that they'll take, are there desk fees, office fees? Are there franchise fees, errors and omissions fees? You have to get them to list it in writing before you do anything. And here, I do want to show you this. I wrote this book, Skip the 9 to 5, How to Build a Six-Figure Real Estate Career Before Age of 30. But this applies to anyone at any age. And in it, I do talk a lot about how to select a broker, the things you need to look for, the questions you need to ask. So everything you want is in this book if you're thinking about real estate as a career. And you can get this on Amazon. It's available in print, Kindle, and on Audible. So check that out. And I do have some other real estate books, but I think for this purpose, this book is really going to be beneficial for you. So anyway, you need to ask a lot of questions. So here's an example. When I first started, I went to work for Exit Realty, and I chose Exit because they had the least amount of fees, but it was, I was on a 70-30 split, which in the beginning I was still working and I was fine with that because I wasn't sure when my first sale was going to come, of course, I told you I had no money, so I didn't want to spend any money and not know if I was going to get it back, how long it was going to take. So I went with the higher split and it worked out well. I was with Exit for a year, but as you're in your real estate career, you will notice as you start to make sales, other brokerages will start to contact you and try to recruit you. And I got such an email from another local broker, and I went and visited with them. And we were talking, they were saying, oh, yeah, we'll get you an 80-20 split. So I said, wow, that's great. Put everything in writing. So when they put it in writing, I read the 80-20 split and the E&O and the franchise fee and the this and the this and the this. And I said, I may be just better off staying home. I'll make more money not doing anything. So you have to research all of that information. And again, this is a business where you're self-employed. So every expense is your own: gas, um, any money you spend on marketing. If your broker doesn't give you marketing material, um, email newsletter creation, websites on your own. Um, if you need a bookkeeper as time goes on, all of these expenses are your own. And you should be aware that real estate can be a costly business because you're constantly laying out money. But the reward is big as well because you can get a sale where you make $7, 8, 9, $10,000. But remember, the big ticket items come later. You have to cut your teeth and get the experience before you start to go after those big elephants. So, brokerages all vary with what they offer training wise, split wise, fees, and commissions. So you need to know that when you're starting out, if you're thinking about getting into this business. You need a reliable car because customers will get in your car. I know there are a lot of agents that have the customers follow them. And I don't like that. I like having the people in my car because it's my time to bond with them, to get to know them. Now, most people get in my car, they already know me because I have a big YouTube presence. But if you don't have that kind of presence, you want that time with the people in your car. So make sure you have a nice, clean, reliable car. It doesn't have to be a brand new Tesla. Okay. It just needs to be clean and reliable. And, make sure it's common sense, your clothes are clean. You have things to write with when you get in your car, little things that you might not think about, you have to think about. Part of your job will be creating content so your buyers get to know who you are. So familiarize yourself with platforms like this and how to grow your business by getting found on social media, because your broker isn't always going to give you leads. Your team may give you leads. But the good stuff is always going to go to the people with experience. So you need to start to learn how to bring in your own leads, create your own sphere of influence. And it does take time. You have to have people skills. You have to be able to have conversations, make phone calls, but you have to be personable. You have to be resilient, and you have to be disciplined, because you get up in the morning, you might not have any direction because you don't have any appointments, and no 2 days are ever going to be alike. You're going to start out one day thinking I'm doing this, and then the next thing, everything switches. So you have to be flexible. But your time can be your own, but expect to spend a lot of it. And you see those memes on TV where people this is my wife on vacation and he's sitting here having a drink and she's on the phone. That is a real life scenario. You will get phone calls. Like, I play pickleball, and I do have what I call an adult headset, or otherwise known as hearing aids. But it's Bluetooth to my phone. And there are times that I'm playing pickleball and my phone will ring and I answer it. I actually take the phone call while I'm playing pickleball, and I tell my partner, hey, just ignore me. And it freaks them out a little bit, but every phone call to me is $10,000. So make sure you're ready to answer your phone, answer your text messages. That's going to be huge. For your younger people, you're used to that. For older people, they're not attached to their phone. So you have to remember your phone is your biggest asset in your business. So make sure that you have an iPhone or a phone and you answer it. All right, what do we have? What else do we have? What's the difference between wanting freedom and being willing to build a business? So, again, this is your own business. Your time is your own, but it's not. There are many times where I say, "Hey, I'm not going to work on Saturday," or "I have something to do on Tuesday." And depends on how important it is. I may get a phone call and they say, "Hey, I want to go look at this house." I have to change my plan sometimes because someone wants to look at a property, because you need to make money when you can make money. Because you never know when the market's going to change. It's a very unstable, unreliable income source. And again, I started with nothing. It was a little gutsy. I was able to save, and I mean, just a tiny bit of money. I'm talking maybe 1 or 2 months worth of expenses I had, and there was a wing and a prayer and a lot of faith, and it paid off, but I worked hard at it. So, make sure you might have a little bit of stash, maybe 1 or 2 months worth of income, set aside. If you're not sure, ask your family what their opinion of getting in this business is, ask your friends. But I wouldn't be concerned about getting started early. And maybe, maybe if you're in your 20s or early 30s, you do start out as a side hustle and you pick a niche, pick something that interests you and focus on that. And then by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, you are well on your way to a successful career. Um, and that's going to segue here. I just want to make sure I hammer away. Prepare for inconsistent income. So, day one of your career doesn't make you a realtor. This is when you really start to learn. And if you got a sale day one, it could take 30 to 60 days before you get paid. And that's banking on the deal goes through. There are many times where at the last minute, the deal falls apart for whatever reason. So you need to be prepared for that. The best advice I could give any new realtor is don't be disappointed and be flexible, because you will just stress yourself out and you will make it an unpleasant experience for yourself while you're trying to go through and change your career or develop a career. Now, when you get into this business, couple things you need to have: a laptop, a desktop. I have both, but I always take my laptop with me because I never know when I'm going to be out with customers and they say, "Let's write up an offer." I don't want to miss that opportunity to have to come home, enter it on the computer, and send it to them to DocuSign. And there are even times when I knew my buyers had narrowed it down. In my market, they could choose buying a property from the developer and then we're out of luck. But they may say, "Hey, I want to go look at this last property." I print out all the documents and take it with me so we can sign right there. So you always have to be prepared. So make sure you get a laptop. If you're going to create social content, just a phone works. You don't need sophisticated equipment. Just start out with your phone. But the biggest takeaway from this session today, we have 5 minutes left, is pick a good licensing online or in person session. Make sure they provide, some of them will provide continuing education, you can pay for it. and they will also have a continuing ed courses. But make sure it works for you. If you need to learn by visual and audio, make sure that class, that online class, has an audio component to it. So when I took mine, I had to read everything. It didn't have the audio. They had a couple little sections where they spoke, but for the most part, I had to read all the material. Um, when you finish your state exam, hire either a tutor or get something like Prep Agent, which I have the affiliate link below. I tell you, I took tests every single day. I listened to the vocabulary in my car. In the morning before I left, I took a couple of question tests. At night, I would take 100 question tests. Study, study, study. I crammed for 3 weeks and passed the exam the first time, but I don't think I would have done it without some type of aid like Prep Agent. Now, there are other ones out there. That's the one I use, so that's why I recommend it. Make sure you do your research about the brokerage that you want to join. Interview them all, their technology, the support, training, their reach. Find out all of that information and get everything in writing. You want to get this book to start off with. Skip the 9 to 5, How to Build a Six-Figure Career in Real Estate Before age of 30. You can get this on Amazon. It's in print for your Kindle device or in Audible, so you can listen to it in the car. But this is a great resource for you thinking about getting into this business. Make sure you know this is going to be hard work, inconsistent income, and you're not going to have as much free time maybe as you think as you're building your career. I had more time in the beginning when I was first building, but the past 2 years, my free time has gone down and my success has gone up. So those are trade-offs. But you can decide what you want to do, when you want to do, and how much you want to do it. Real estate can be a very rewarding career with additional streams of income, revenue streams for you created in this business, like I've done. But you do have to, I say real estate's not a hard job, but you have to work hard at it. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for joining me, watching me. Make sure you like and subscribe. And because I'm going to do this every Monday morning, the topics will be different. They may be for beginner topics and they may be for more advanced topics, but everyone here that's thinking about real estate and wants to grow their business, build their brand, grow their authority, and reinvent their life in real estate, this is the place to be. My name's Robyn Cavallaro. This is Stop Chasing, Start Attracting, and I'm the founder of the Agent Authority Lab. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next Monday at 8:30. I'm going to finish my coffee, and then I have a photo shoot for a listing I'm really excited about. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.